to the reactions of some markets as to how our budget was received. Well, I've got some wonderful surprise guests behind me. As I'm reading the market indicators, I get all these lovely young school kids coming behind me, which I can't say I'm not happy about. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nice to all see you. You're all from... Where are you from?
Sachs High School.
Sachs High. Yeah. And you're from?
Herschel.
And you're Herschel. Okay. Good to have all of you. You are part of the breakfast this morning. I don't know where to begin. Can I start here and make my way down? How did you find the breakfast? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was very insightful to hear what the minister had to say, and the questions that were asked were really, really good.
Okay.
So I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
I mean, finance? Really? Would you be at the finance breakfast and you actually enjoyed it?
I think so, because it's actually really interesting to see what's happening with our economy, and the fact that we were given this platform to actually ask questions was very useful. So I found it quite interesting.
Well, I'm so glad, because I mean, you know, when you look at the economy is something that... It is. Yes, it is. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And yourself?
Okay, her mom used to be a producer here on our program. It's so nice to see you. So listen, I mean, then I'm asking the wrong person, because I mean, you are so involved in all of this, especially with your dad. I mean, he's somebody that talks finance all the time. But in terms of your understanding of all of us, how good is your understanding of the economy and how it all works?
I think as we get older and sort of what's happening in the economy starts to affect us all as like students and as young people, I think we start to sort of take incentive to research more about it and know how things are affecting us, because I think now at this stage we're trying to think, what are we going to do after school? And I think what the patterns in the economy are sort of lending its way into which direction we should go into. So I think I'm
amazed at how intelligent the students of today are. I don't ever remember being this intelligent and following it so closely. Alex, I'm just going to call you by your name tags now. I mean, Alex, you sat there, you listened to the minister, and now I'm going to ask you quite a specific question, because I mean, if you had to take something out of that speech that really spoke to you, what was it? What is it that you sort of thought to yourself, really? Okay, this is going to be an interesting time we live in?
Well, it was less about this morning's breakfast and more about yesterday's speech. Minister Gordhan ended off with his closing word was about how we need to work together and end corruption in the country. And to see that kind of leadership, which is unfortunately somewhat lacking in South Africa, it is great to see that there are still people out there who are having the country's best interest at heart and who are wanting to really take us forward. It's inspirational to see that, and to see that Minister Gordhan is not the only person, but he's got a whole team behind him who are backing him up on that.
Yeah. I mean, it is very comforting to see, because a lot of South Africans, and what we're gathering as young and old, are all feeling the same way about this, that to root out that corruption and see that money being spent in the right places to better the lives of others. I mean, is that also something that you felt you got out of the budget?
Yeah, and especially the honesty and integrity, where does it lie now in our country? And I think just to retrieve it again is important. Yeah.
Can we talk about sugar?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about sugar? I mean, isn't that what kids talk about? Although I can't call you kids anymore. You all don't look like kids, not at all. Sugar tax? What do you think about? I mean, this is for your generation. You know this.
I think it's a brilliant idea, because sugar is the cause of our obesity. Obesity rate in South Africa is ridiculously high. I remember last year I did a research essay on our food manufacturers killing us, and one of the stuff I sort of breached into was about the sugar and how obesity rates are increasing in South Africa compared to America, how we are catching up with their obesity status, and how it's the fact of people buy sweets, and this initiative of Woolworths not putting sweets in their sweet aisles and the sort of mixed responses they got. I think it was a good idea, because often as people don't have self-control to not take the sugar, but I feel now that the taxes are coming up, it's also going to make people think twice about buying the sugar, because it's going to be twice expensive. Why spend money on that? We can spend money on something else, and in the process it's going to help fight the obesity rate, which is growing rapidly fast in South Africa. So I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's a very big thing. In fact, I'm still waiting to see when they remove those sweets from the aisles. I think
it's a brilliant idea.
Well, I mean, Woolworths said they were going to do that. I haven't seen them being removed.
I think it's because there's been mixed reactions towards it. So many people Woolworths is scared they're going to lose customers, because most people, it's sort of their attraction, how they make sort of that extra money, because often when parents are like walking with kids, they'll grab something. So I mean, like when there's nothing there, parents are afraid that the kid's not really going to want to, you know what I mean, go with them to the shop. So it's a fact of losing customers and everything. So I think it's a really good idea that they take it away, although at first it's going to be weird, but it's going to help South Africa.
It must happen, because listen, my grocery bill suddenly doubles as soon as I get into that aisle. It was all fine until I get in the aisle, and then I just see these things being thrown into my trolley with sugar and sweets. Okay, James, I mean, what stood out for you? What did you enjoy about it?
To me, it was really the way he kind of answered the question about the fees must fall, which was posed by one of the other learners. I really thought, I mean, obviously free fees is very far away from our country currently in our situation, but he really dealt with the question well and handled it well in response to the learner, and really let us know what's happening in that situation.
Yeah, I'm so glad you touched on the students and the fees must fall, because this is a pressing issue. I mean, we're standing here in this beautiful environment and everything is so lovely, but if we just cast our mind back to one university, and that's looking at what's happening at the Northwest University, and that's devastating. These are students fighting to get an education. I mean, Kem, it looks like you come from a privileged background, it looks like you're good with things, but for those that are not privileged, I mean, what would you propose? How do we help the situation?
I think they need to be realistic, because we are a third world country, and I don't think we're ever going to get to that stage where tertiary education is going to be free for all, but they can push the point and say that they deserve tertiary education. But I mean, the government's doing their best to provide basic education, and I don't think until we've provided basic education to the majority of the economy that we're going to be able to provide tertiary education to everyone.
Yeah. It's also that gap that we talk about. I'm going to quickly get these last comments from Nick and Stephen. I mean, it's that gap between the rich and the poor that seems to be increasing, and that was something the minister did speak about in the breakfast. Again, big questions I'm asking you guys, but I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think Mr. Minister Pravin Gordhan, he's doing so well so far, and he's actually finding money so we can not borrow too much and be able to have money to spend. I'm sorry, this is a bit messy.
It's a tough one, hey, but you're doing so well, because that's exactly what he said. I mean, he doesn't have to. We can't borrow anymore. We need to spend what we have, and you hit the nail on the head.
He's trying to reduce the debt, which I think is a very good move. And finding money to use that we actually have and we can actually use properly. Some of them touched on helping the poor. I think that reducing the gap between the rich and poor is going to be quite a big thing in the future, because the unrest in the country, especially with this fees must fall, is getting out of hand. And if we can at least help the poor and move them up in the world, then we'll be able to.
Nicely done, Nick. All right, Stephen, wrap this up for us. What's your closing thoughts?
Well, mainly what I took out from the speech and the interviews and the questions from everyone is a positive general sense of optimism, not only from the minister but also from the members in the audience, so Tony Ehrenreich, leaders of industry, leaders of business, and that expression of faith and positivity is something that can carry us through during what is a tough time. But being able to recognize that and move past the doom and gloom is something that's going to benefit our country. Yeah,
you deserve the debating blazer. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. This is 10 students coming out talking to us about what they thought about the budget, and I really appreciated it. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And go to school. That's what I'm telling you. Go to school now. It's 8:30. Did you get like special leave or something? Yeah. Chosen few. All right. No, but you got to get back there. All right. That was just talking to some of the young students. They were there. They were part of the budget breakfast, and it was really nice to share some of their views. All right. Back to Joburg now. Valen, do you ever remember being this clever